Hey crafty friends, welcome back for another so long tutorial. Today we are doing a really fun craft. I'm really excited for this. It's a kittycorn, a caticorn, a catakittycorn, a unicorn cat. I don't know. What I do know is that this is a really cute project. It's really fun and it is really easy to customize and make it your own. This is a level 2 project. It has a lot more detail in this cat's face and adding the yarn mane and tail. If you have never hand sewn before and you are interested in it, I have a whole playlist on my YouTube channel for very first sewing projects, and I have a bunch of them behind me and they're also really cute and fun. This is, again, a level 2, so it's just a little bit more challenging. It's got some more detail in this cat's face, and for adding the yarn mane and tail, I think it's really fun. And if you are feeling adventurous and you just want to go for it, go for it. I do think this is a great project for kids with a little bit of adult supervision, or adults who just want like a fun kittycorn craft. I have a free pattern on my website, which is linked in the description below. So go ahead, click that link, print your pattern, gather your supplies, come back here, and we'll sew this together. I am so excited to make this kittycorn felt plushie. To make this, you're going to need the following supplies: some felt in the color that you want your kittycorn. I have one for the main color of my kitty, one for the inside of the ears, and then the nose, the tummy, and the nose stripe. I have another color. I was thinking about doing this lots of colors, or maybe just keeping it white. There's lots of options to do this to really customize your kittycorn, and I think all of them are fun. You're gonna need some scissors that can cut out felt. Kid scissors aren't great for it, so you are gonna want some bigger ones. This is embroidery floss. It's just thicker thread, and I have it to match the color of the felt that I'm sewing for the main color of my cat. I have one for the color of the nose that I'm gonna sew on, and some for the eyes, and then I have a little bit of black because I'm gonna do a mouth detail like I have on this cat. So I want nose, eyes, and this mouth detail on my unicorn kitty. This is an embroidery floss needle. It just has a little bit of a wider eye to sew your wider thread. You can use normal thread, you're just gonna wanna double it up. And if you use normal thread, you can just use a normal needle. Something to trace your pattern with, something to stuff your pattern with. This is polyfill, it's what's in most stuffed animals. I also use felt scraps. The stuff that I cut off of this as I'm cutting out my pattern. I've used cotton balls, I've used ripped up plastic bags, so use what you have. And then finally, I'm gonna do some fun mane and tail details, and I'm gonna use yarn to do those, and I am just using some scrap yarn that I have. If you happen to use embroidery floss and you have other colors of embroidery floss, I think that would also work great for the mane and tail. And then finally, the pattern. Again, I have a free one on my website, which is linked in the description below, so go ahead, click that link, print your pattern, cut it out, come back here, and we'll start piecing this together. Once you have all of your pieces cut out, it's time to start tracing. Now, as you're getting your pieces ready to trace, don't just pop them in the middle of your felt, put them as close to the edge as you can. This will just maximize your felt for future projects. And any of these that say cut to, trace them one time on the side with words, and then flip it over and trace it on the back side the second time. This will just make the pieces come together better when we're sewing. Go ahead, pause the video, and get all of your pieces traced. Once you have all of your pieces traced, it's time to start cutting them out. And this is gonna take a while because there's a lot of pieces for this kittycorn. So as you're cutting, you just wanna do slow snips, and you wanna kind of stay in the middle-ish of your scissors. That's usually where you've got the most pressure and it's the sharpest. And as you do it, you want to try and carefully cut off your tracing lines. So you can see my lines are on this side and I'm cutting around it. You just wanna slowly go and get all of your pieces cut out. Also, I am gonna make my kittycorn's tail out of yarn, so I'm not tracing and cutting out this piece. But if you don't want to do it out of yarn and you want to do a tail like this, you can just trace it and cut it out, and we'll sew it along the same way that we do the arms and legs. So you can think about that if you do or don't want to cut that out. So go ahead, pause the videos, get all of your pieces cut out. Okay, so I got all of my pieces cut out, and I thought I was going to do this peach color for the nose and belly, but once I did it and I laid it out, I realized that I didn't like the color mixture quite as much, so I just took those pieces and I cut them out on a different piece of felt. And that is a really fun part of this process, especially in this early part. If you lay it out and you decide you want different colors, there is nothing stopping you from changing your colors. Then I've gone through and I've laid it out, and I can see that some places I did better at cutting off the black marks than others. I'm looking at all of my pieces and I'm making sure any that still have the black lines are just facing inward, so that when I sew my cat head or my cat body together, they'll be facing inward and I won't see them as much. So take a minute, lay out your pattern pieces, and then we are going to start working on the cat or the kittycorn's mane, which I think is also going to be really fun. Because I changed this color, I wanted to change my yarn color too, and I happen to have some of this like more minty, so I chose that. All right, now I'm taking this bottom half of my pattern. If you didn't keep this, that's fine, just grab a piece of paper. If you do have it, I just cut off the bottom. And I'm gonna fold this in half. And I just wanna get it to kind of a smallish square, about as long as I want the Kittycorn's hair strands to be. This looks pretty good to me. And then I'm gonna grab my string and I'm gonna hold it at the top. And I'm just gonna wrap it around a few times, and this is gonna help me make a Kittycorn mane and tail. I'm just wrapping until, that's a pretty big bundle. Oh, I don't have that much purple left. I'm just gonna do my whole bundle. So, I'm gonna slide it off. I'm gonna get my scissors and I'm gonna cut one side of this. So now I've got all these tiny purple strands. I'm gonna repeat that with my pink and my mint. We have all these pieces of string and we need to figure out how we want the mane for the top and the tail for the bottom. I'm gonna do the tail first because I think it's a little easier, and I'm just gonna take a few strands of each color, pile them together, and I'm gonna take one more strand and I'm gonna put these all on top, and I'm gonna tie this around it in a knot, really tight, kind of right in the middle. I'm gonna do a double knot, in fact. All right, I'm gonna sew this onto the back of my Kittycorn in a little bit to make a floofy tail. For the top, we're gonna need to do a little bit different. So I am gonna take a piece of my yarn, one of these that I haven't cut all the way. So I'm gonna get a longer piece. And I don't need it super big. We can maybe even use one of these. It's just a little tight to tie. I'm gonna get a longer piece. All right, so this is maybe like the length of my handish. I'm gonna get the two ends together and I'm gonna do a loop knot. So this is where you do a circle. Oh, I've got marker lines on my fingers. Circle, tip the two ends of the strand in the middle of the circle, and then I usually put my finger over that bundle of knots, pull it tight. There we go. Okay, now this is gonna take a little bit, but I think it looks really fun in the end. So you're gonna take your strand of hair, you're gonna put it under, so we've got a U shape, then you're gonna take the two ends, you're gonna stick it through the middle, and then you're gonna pull. And this is gonna give you a strand. And you can do that for as many as you want. And in the end, we're gonna sew it into our cat. So take a minute, start adding your strands. You can do the same colors. You can do bundles of them if you want. I might even try a bundle. I'm gonna try a bundle of maybe 3. So I'm pulling it tight like this, but then I'm pulling my holder string out so that I can slide them over. They could be close to each other. So this is where I'm gonna leave my mane. And it'll go about between the two ears, and that's a good amount for me, and I'm good with the tail. Once you have that done, we're gonna start working on the cat's face. So I'm gonna put these pieces aside, and I'm just gonna take this one with the nose pad, with the stripe, and with the horn. And I'm getting my pink, and I am going to sew on my cat's nose. So I'm getting both ends of my pink embroidery floss, and this is a pretty short piece. It's maybe the length of my hand and beyond, just a little bit. We're gonna do another loop knot, so that's where you make a circle. Put the two ends in between the circle, and then I use my finger in the middle to move it down sometimes, but put your finger across that bundle of knots and then pull on the needle side. That just helps you control where this knot is so it doesn't end up like way down here. And we're gonna get our cat face. I'm gonna take off the horn for a minute. I'm making sure that if I have tracing lines, they're facing in. These ones look pretty good. And I'm layering this over. So this nose pad, or this nose stripe, I want to be pretty under this nose pad because I'm gonna sew them both on together. Now I'm taking my pink and I'm gonna start from the back, making sure that I'm going through both those pieces of felt, and you might have to move your needle around a little. And I'm gonna pull it almost to the end, but not quite. And then I'm gonna go over here because I'm gonna make a triangle nose, so I want my first stitch to be kind of big. Now I'm gonna pull it tight in the front. I'm gonna stick my needle in the middle of this loop knot in the back and then pull it real tight. So there's my first stitch. Now I'm gonna go down just a little bit and try and make a little bit shorter stitches each time as I'm making a triangle nose on this cat. That's pretty triangle to me, but I think I want to outline it. So I'm gonna go pull my needle through this top corner and down, and then through this and over, just so I can really, really see that triangle. I'm poking my needle through, trying to find the right spot. I'm just gonna go down to the tip of the nose. And then I'm gonna come from this corner and go back down to the tip of the nose. There's my triangle nose, and then we're gonna knot it off in the back. You're gonna do this by putting your needle in the middle of this bundle of threads. All right, well, I'm not gonna knot mine because I ran out of string and I think it will be okay. I'm gonna put the ending of how my eye knots are gonna go so that you know how to knot yours. That, and now we're gonna knot it off by sticking our needle through this bundle of threads, go once, twice over the top, pull it down, and put my thumb and finger just to pinch it in place. That locks the knot right there at the end. Now I'm gonna get some of my dark floss and I'm gonna do the eyes. And again, I'm gonna double up my string, and I'm doing a length from like my fingertips to my shoulder. Adding my cat eyes the same way I did the nose. So I'm getting the two ends of my embroidery floss, doing a loop knot, holding the end, and then I'm pulling my needle tight to the end so both strands are even. And then we're gonna go from the back of the cat forward, figure out where I want my eye. I want it start maybe there. We're gonna pull it almost all the way through, but not quite. We're gonna go over a little. We're gonna pull it tight in the front, and then we're gonna put your needle through the middle of these two and then pull that tight. And that is the beginning stitch of our eye. It's a little small for me. I usually go in and out 3 or 4 times to make that eye bigger, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. There's my eye, I feel pretty good about that. And now we're gonna knot it off by sticking our needle through this bundle of threads, go once, twice over the top, pull it down, and put my thumb and finger just to pinch it in place. That locks the knot right there at the end. And I am going to repeat those steps for the second eye. The Kittycorn has 2 eyes, and I want to give it a detailed mouth, so it's kind of hard to see on this bat, but it's this line from the nose that goes down and over, and this is really detailed stitching. You can skip it and just have a mouth like this, and I also think that's really fun. If you want to do the more detailed stitching, I'm taking my embroidery floss, and it usually has 6 strands, and I'm just unraveling kind of a short strand, the length of my hand and a little beyond, and I'm pulling out just 2 of those threads. This time when I'm knotting it, I'm just knotting the end. I'm not putting both ends of the thread together. And again, I'm going to start from the back, and I want to go right at the bottom of the cat's nose. And if you're having a hard time poking your needle through because there's a big bundle of threads here, sometimes I'll push it against a table or a floor just to help me nudge that needle through. And we're going to pull this again almost to the end. You got to be careful this time that your thread doesn't come unwound because it's not tied on. So maybe hold your thread, and then we're going to go down just a little bit and poke it back through. And the reason I did 2 threads is so that we can put our needle right in the middle of these 2 and do our knot stitch again. Now this is called a backstitch, and it's kind of fun. We're going to come out with our needle down just a little bit, and then we're going to go back in that same ending stitch. So go up right here, and then I'm going to go back through at the bottom of my previous stitch. Now I'm going to come to the side a little bit. And then I want to go kind of from the top or up a little bit over because I want my Kittycorn to be smiling. Let's just make it look a little smiley. I'm going to repeat those steps on the other side. All right, and then like before, I'm going to knot it off. I'm just going to stick it in this bundle of threads, wrap the end once, twice over the top of my needle, pull it down, pinch it in place, and pull this thread through. Snip off my excess. And look at our cute little kitty face. Last thing we're going to do on the face is we are going to sew this horn on, and then we're going to start attaching the 2 pieces of the face. So this time I have it threaded with my embroidery floss that matches that. I am doing both strands together as I do this loop knot. Just like the eyes, we're going to go from the back forward and just knot this in place, this time with just a single stitch. So I'm going through all 3 pieces of felt, and I am going down a little bit because I am going to need to sew this head piece into this. So make sure you're not knotting your horn right up against it. You can even put it a little lower down so that you have space to sew around it. We're going to go through all 3 pieces, in, leaving a tail. Bring my needle through the bundle over there, and then I'm just going to knot this in place right here with just a single, just doing a 1 in out stitch. This one's tied over, pull it back, pinching it, and then pulling the needle out so it makes that knot right against there. Ta-da! Cutie face. Now I'm just going to take the ears out of my cat, and I am going to put the front and the back face of my cat together. I've got my string, and I am tying a knot just in a single end this time. And then I'm putting the 2 pieces of cat together, and I'm just paying attention to the felt that's right where I'm working, not worrying about the rest of it. I'm going to pull it through, put my needle into the middle of this bundle of threads because I just have 1 strand right now, but again, there's 6 little strands. And then I'm going to take my knot, and I'm just going to hold it inside the cat while I pull that tight. And then we are going to do what's called a modified or simplified blanket stitch. So we're just going to go over a little. We're going to go through the back of the cat's face. So we're always going to go from the back of the cat's face or the table side. You're never going to go from the front down. You're going to put your needle halfway through. We're going to grab this tail end, put it over the top of the needle, and then you're going to pull it all the way through. You're going to go down a little. Again, from the back of the cat's head. Put the tail of the string over and then pull it all the way through. The back of the cat's head, hold it halfway, string over all the way through. We're going to continue with this blanket stitch until we reach about here, maybe even here. We're going to pause about there, and then we're going to add the cat's ear. So on the ear, I'm just checking that my tracing lines are inside. I'm going to pop that ear in right here. Now, instead of a blanket stitch, we are going to do what's called a running stitch, which honestly I think is even easier. So we're going to go from the back again. We're going to go forward through all those pieces of felt. Make sure you're getting your pink piece that's inside. Pull it down, and then we're going to go from the front back. And we're going to go from the back front and the front back until this whole ear is attached. Once we have that ear attached, this is where things get really fun and a little crazy. So we're going to take that bundle of bundle of hair. You want to smoosh it because it needs to fit between, like where this head stripe is, it needs to fit between those 2 ears. If you have too much, you can always snip it off or unwind some. And I'm just putting this whole bundle in here, making sure it's under the cat's face. I'm pulling this just down to the bottom of my cat so I know that it's in but out of the way. And then we're going to do a running stitch, that same one we've done for the ear, the in and out, to attach the front and the felt together. And we are going to be sewing through our yarn bits as we go. I'm going to go in and out. This time I'm sewing through that yarn too. And when I go forward, I also want to make sure that I'm not sewing in the horn. So I'm going to grab my horn. I'm just going to bend it down so it's out of the way. Let's see, where's my needle? Oh, there it is. Oh, so I went through with my needle, but I don't think nope, look, I didn't get any of my yarn strands. So I got to pull that one back, try again. Put my yarn strands a little deeper in there. Go. Grabbing the ends and pushing them to the middle so I can make sure I have space for the cat's other ear. Woo! That was some tricky sewing. Once we have that all in, we're going to add the cat's other ear, and this will be easier. But we are going to continue with that in and out running stitch to attach the second ear. Woo! Tricky. I'm gonna push this inside. We are gonna go back to that blanket stitch until the side over here, and then we're gonna pause and we are gonna stuff the cat's face before we close it up. So again, the blanket stitch, you're always gonna go from the back of the cat's face or the table side. Put your needle halfway through, grab the tail end, pull it over the top, and pull it all the way out. From the back side, halfway through, over the top, pull it through. We're here, we're gonna stuff our cat's face. So you can use your polyfill or your scraps or whatever you're using. Just gonna stuff it in until it's as full as you want it to be, and then we're gonna continue with that blanket stitch around the end of the face and close it off. This time when you do your blanket stitch, your stitches are gonna be much further apart, so I'm gonna pull that last one tight, and you're just gonna try and get the two edges of your felt and not get any of your filling. And you'll probably have to keep pushing your stuffing in as you go with each of these last stitches. Right, and I'm back here at my starting stitch. Knotting it inside, we're just gonna wrap your thread once, twice over the top. You're gonna pinch it down to hold that knot in place, and then you're gonna pull your string through. And then I usually stick my needle into my cat, make sure that my fingers are far away from it, and pull it out the other side before I snip off my thread. This just gives it a longer stitch inside, so it will become less likely to become unraveled. And there we have our cute Kittycorn's head. The hard part is done, or the hardest parts, I should say. Now we get to sew on the Kittycorn's arms and legs and its tail. So for this, I am just lining all my pieces, and I am gonna take the back legs off first. I'm gonna position my belly with my front legs over the top, and I'm just gonna do a knot stitch in the top of each of these arms, and that's gonna hold my belly in place too. Again, I'm gonna go from the back, make sure I'm going through all three pieces of felt, pulling this almost to the end, going back through, put my needle in the middle of these two and pulling it tight. And then I'm just gonna knot it by going through those again, wrapping this once, twice over the top, pulling it back, pinching it in place as I pull my needle out, and snip. So I'm gonna repeat that same kind of knot stitch for each of these, for a knot stitch here on the top of this arm, this leg, and this leg. All right, so now I have all my arms and legs sewn on, and I am gonna take my back piece and I am gonna sew on my fluffy unicorn tail. Just like before, I'm actually gonna do a single strand this time because I want this one to be a little small and hidden. I tie a knot in one side, come from the back of my unicorn body, pull this most of the way through. I'm gonna line this over the top, and then I'm gonna go back in right pretty close under here. And I'm just keeping this string over the top of that tail. Pulling it through. And then I'm sticking it in the middle of this bundle of thread so I can knot it back here. Pulling it tight. There we go. You can go around it again if you want. I feel pretty good about mine. I'm just gonna knot it in place. Once, twice over, pull it down, pinch it, and pull it. All right, now we got a real fluffy unicorn back end. Now we're gonna sew the two body parts together, and this is gonna be easier than when we did the head because we have just one stitch we're gonna do. So I'm doing a single length of thread, and I measured this from my fingertips to a little bit past my shoulder. I want it long, but not so long it's totally overwhelming. And I'm gonna do my first stitch, so I'm just lining up the two edges of this felt. I'm pushing the foot up and out of the way. And we're gonna do just another knot stitch to start. Ooh, and it is gonna be tricky not to get those tail bits in. You're gonna wanna push those aside too. Oh, I went too far. Sticking my needle into this bundle of threads. Pulling it not super tight yet because I want to put the end of that into my unicorn. Now, pull it tight. All right, now I'm just keeping the edges of the felt that I'm working on together, and I am going to do a blanket stitch around this whole thing, pausing probably about here to stuff it. And as I go around this little mint belly right here, I'm gonna sew that in with my blanket stitch. So you're gonna wanna be careful that you keep your tail bits out of your stitches because that's gonna try and tangle your line. But again, you're always gonna go from the back end forward, wrap the string over the top and pull it through. Once you've done your blanket stitch all the way around, kind of towards this bottom, we're gonna pause, and again, we are going to stuff the body of our unicorn plushie, and then we're gonna continue with a blanket stitch and knot it off at the end. All right, now I'm gonna do a knot stitch right here, but I am not going to cut my string at the end. So I'm gonna go once, twice, pinch it in place. All these other strings out. And we are gonna do a little bit of unicorn magic in the form of a ladder stitch, which I think is the tricky and most magical stitch. So I'm gonna put my needle in. I'm gonna try and get it to come out right here, kind of in the front of my unicorn's body. And we are going to, I don't wanna pull it so tight that that leg is pulling in, but I do want it a little tight. And now, I'm gonna flip this over, get my main hair out of the way so I can line this up. And we are going to sew the front of the unicorn's body to the back of the, sorry, not unicorn, Kittycorn's head. We're gonna do this with a ladder stitch. So I think this is really fun. You're gonna go in and out on the head with just a small stitch. You're gonna pull your string through. Oh, I got a knot in mine. And I'm just gonna leave these stitches wide right now. So I have my finger on my head and my body, keeping them apart. And that's gonna be just fine, just because I wanna see where I'm working. Now I'm turning the body over and I'm gonna go in and out on the body. Again, I'm keeping my finger on the head so it's not getting too close. I'll turn that back over. Gonna go in and out on this headpiece. You can see it's called a ladder stitch because we're kind of making a ladder over here. And this is a really fun stitch. This, if you rip clothes or a sweater, this is a great way to repair it and make it look like nothing's happened, nothing's changed. Go in and out on the head, and then I'm gonna do my last stitch on the body. I'm gonna go in and out over here. All right, once you've got your ladder made all the way, we are gonna pull these stitches really tight. So you can pull with your end stitch right here if you're strong enough to pull it all the way across, but if that feels hard, you can grab one of these middle stitches and pull it. You kind of want to figure out where it's pulling. You want to pull the far away ones first. So we can pull those really tight, and then you can pull all of this. You will see it just zips that head right up against the body, and it makes it really sneaky. So I'm gonna pull this last one tight. Everything looks good to me. I might loosen it a little bit over here. Now that I've got that head attached, I'm just gonna pull my leg back so it doesn't pull in. And then we are gonna do our final stitch, which is a knot stitch right here in the head. So I'm gonna go in and out, or right here in the back of the body. I'm gonna go in and out. Gonna wrap the string once, twice over the top of my needle, pull it back, pinch it in place or smush it in place as I pull that through. And then again, I'm just gonna put this needle through the unicorn body and out a far side so it's kind of hidden. Grab my scissors, pull the string a little tight and snip it. And welcome back with our finished Kittycorn. I hope you had a good time putting this together. I know that I did. I think it turned out so fun and cute and just like adorable. If you enjoyed this and you want to do more hand sew alongs, be sure to like, subscribe, share, any of the things, all of the things. And I'll be back next Monday with a brand new pattern that we can sew together.